Footsteps to Brilliance. It's a digital literacy program.
Mother says in due time.
Jose, your turn.
Cuando hay nieve, press here. Presiona aquí. We watch flowers grow. Press this one here. Now you can touch and see what happens. There you go. There. Summer. Presiona ahí.
The 4?
You're gonna do the 4? I think let's do the 2. Yay! So these two just started last week, but yeah, they're English language learners. But they picked up on it really, really fast.
And they're so engaged.
Yeah. Okay, wait, let your brother have a turn. All right, shall we do it again? Yeah, go ahead. All right, Jesus. Yes.
The 4?
You're gonna do the 4? I think let's do the 2.
The 2.
There we go.
2.
Go ahead, your turn.
2.
Go ahead, you go first. Autumn. Otra vez.
Which way?
Yellow.
Can I do it?
Oh. Uh-oh. Go ahead, Jose Manuel.
Autumn. Clothes. Autumn.
Okay, let your brother have a turn. Should we make it harder? You got it. I see you watching it. And do you see it, Jose Manuel? Sandals and? Oh, okay, go ahead.
There you go.
Yeah.
Leaves. Hat.
Oh, you made it really, really hard. Okay, let your brother have a turn.
So how does the Footsteps to Brilliance engage them?
Well, 2 things. They really like the animation, so they get to touch things and then things happen. The other thing, when they go into the activities, the memory game, they get to touch and it says the words in English. We can switch it to Spanish, but they've both been picking up English really well, and they've only been here a short time.
I noticed Maria had 2 iPads out, and one was English and one was Spanish, and she was going back and forth. I thought that was fascinating, and the kids are able to hear it in both languages.
Both of my assistants are bilingual in English and Spanish, and so when she's doing the book in both English and Spanish, she's providing both of the languages and support for those that are learning the English language learners.
So Jeanette, what are some of the other features with Footsteps to Brilliance?
There's a variety of programs. There's different books, different nonfiction and fiction, and then each of the books has the mighty matches, the matching games, there's comprehension questions, so they can create their own book. So we're doing Get Out the Clothes this week, and so they can create their own book. They can do this with their parents at home. So they can type in whatever they want. They can use the different backgrounds from our story that we just did. They can create stories around the book that we just read. So we just did Get Out the Clothes this week. So if they wanted to, they can create a book themselves. So they can go to it and they can use the backgrounds from the story. And this is something we do during our free play time, so they can come over and have individual time and working on it. And then they can pick whatever background they want to put. And then they can put the characters from the story too, so the mom and the girl, and then they can tell the story how they want to.
So how does the curriculum that you use prepare them for Common Core and the 21st century learning?
Well, we do a lot of, like I had mentioned before, the thematic units. So we take things, just for instance, using the x-rays, we've been talking about body parts, so we're exposing them to a lot of larger words that they wouldn't necessarily have heard otherwise. So for instance, we're talking about the skull, we're talking about what an x-ray is, we're talking about where their jawbone is, where their teeth are, those kinds of things. And this is just an app that goes through and you can add different slides in, and then it puts it in as a slideshow. The neat thing, for instance, like in this sense, it's the back of the teeth, but the kids quickly know that that's teeth, and then just going through and what is that? Oh, that's a hand. And then we compare it to, the skeleton that we have in the classroom. So we try to base our curriculum just more, like I was saying, in a thematic way and things that they're going to be seeing in the, community at that time. So for instance, with it being fall, and just things in the community, skeletons, they're gonna see those things. So we're talking about them, and they're learning where their ankle is, and learning where their stomach is, and learning. We've even talked about their pelvis and their hips, and so I guess preparing them in that sense, so they're hearing all those bigger words. So when they get into kindergarten and with the Common Core, they know what to expect, and they're not blank faced when they hear someone say a skull, and they're like, oh, well, I already know where that's at.
Sure. Not your typical pre-K curriculum.
Right. Well, in a sense it is. It's just we're just providing them exposure to a lot of things. So, and that's where, going back to the digital piece, it's helpful because we can bring in those type of things readily, not having to go make copies of different things and, copy off an x-ray, right? I can pull it up right on the iPad and show them, here's what the x-ray of your foot would look like, here's your bones, and that way they can, easily see it. So
Sure.
Just a lot of language exposure, so that way they're, ready for kindergarten and ready for the Common Core piece.
And do you hear them using the language a lot more?
Yeah, well, and
that's
even
great.
when we do a couple different songs, and we're shaking our hips, and then so they're able to label things, and then even talking about your brain and what do we use to think, and they point to their head. Well, what's on? Why is your head hard? And they're like, because of our skull, and so it's
great.
Those type of things that, just providing the exposure. I'm not expecting them, to be able to say, I have a skull, I have a brain. I
Take a
have
multiple
this.
choice test,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But
Exposing them.
exposing them.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of preschool is just giving them that exposure to the language, to social situations. Just even sitting next to each other without touching each other.
Sure.
As you were noticing, I
Yeah.
think before, they, their hands are everywhere. So, and taking turns, the iPads have helped a lot with, just waiting. Even though in this
They're
day and age,
patient.
everything is like instant.
Sure.
And we're teaching them the opposite. You have to wait your turn. You have to wait to touch. You have to wait, until someone else is finished. That sort of thing.
How do you engage them at their various levels?
We take them at their level that they come in. So, for instance, we have 3 and 4-year-olds, some that have just started the program, so they haven't been exposed to very much English. So, during this time, during the free play, we'll start, speaking to them in Spanish and then slowly using more English. Those that are already English speaking, we just take them from where they're at and just provide more activities. My class goes from 1 to 4 in the afternoon, so the children arrive at 1, and we read stories, and then we have a circle time, and then we usually split into the 2 groups and do an ebook on the iPads, and then they have what we call center time, so is what's happening right now. They get to go to different areas of the classroom and work on different things, sometimes being the iPad, other times just working with pre-academic skills. We usually, our curriculum all connects, so right now we're working on seasons, and so the story from Footsteps2Brilliance goes into the seasons, and then we're also doing other stories around the different seasons in fall.
I understand you'll be presenting at the Q conference. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, it's Barbara Nipko and I are doing a presentation about digital literacy. So just talking about how we've used it here in Napa County. Last year we started with the iPads in the classroom, and part of my position has been to help coach the teachers and providing them support in using technology more in their classrooms. So we've used lots of different programs, and I've been able to configure the iPads so they all look the same. So that way, too, it's nice for speech pathologists and occupational therapists that go into the different classrooms, that they know what apps are already on there, and then they can pick the iPads right up and use it for their purposes, too.
How has technology changed, and how have you guys adapted to the use of technology?
It's been different. Years ago when I first started teaching, we didn't have, we used digital cameras and that sort of thing, but just bringing in more user-friendly with the iPads or tablets, we've been able to take pictures and email them to parents, take videos of their actions throughout the day and showing the parents their progress. Just especially too with the apps, we've been able to do a lot more differentiating it just by having it all in one spot. So instead of having to bring in lots of different activities, we still have all the different activities, but having the iPad in the classroom, we can switch it from one app to the next depending upon the student and depending upon the level. So for instance, I have some students that are developmentally more around 2 years old, so we have more cause and effect apps for them, Whereas my 3 and 4-year-olds are those that are going on to kindergarten. We have more in-depth apps, so they're creating stories and doing different things and being able to tell us, you know, what their drawing's about. So it helps differentiate the two because of the things that the kids are doing.
So what are some of the apps you use in the classroom?
So I can show you some of the different ones that we have. These ones are the cause and effect, so they're very simple, especially for my students with visual impairments. This one, they just touch it and they get an instant reaction of a lightning bolt. So, and then it also has the sound with it too. The other ones here, they can set up and play like a little board game. Basically taking your general preschool information and then having them use it in a more functional way.
Jeanette, what you're doing here is excellent. Thank you so much for having us into your classroom.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.